Here, we got it.
There we go.
Okay, we are recording. Okay, so again, what I usually do first at any meeting is take a look at the attendance, and we just talked about that, so we're in good shape. And again, anytime Jeff spends as well, make sure he tracks his hours.
Yep.
Um, at the end, there'll be time to read the plan, read the draft, and get all that done too, so we can always pad those hours and make sure we make that match.
And members from the public, does that count? That
Yep,
come and show up?
if they show up, yep.
Okay.
Will count, of course. I noted on over here, I was doing it before you signed on. They just increased the volunteer rate to 34.64. So we'll use that volunteer rate unless Jeff or yourself, Sarah, make more than that with rates plus benefits. Now,
Okay.
make more than that with rates plus benefits, then we'll use that number. Uh,
Okay.
but you can let me know what that is as we get closer.
It's FEMA rate.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So yeah, I'll work on that and get that to you.
Yeah. Um, The next thing I want to look at is that just to go over it quickly, Sarah did send me the MS1 numbers. As far as I'm concerned, this document, table 2-1 that I sent to you is ready for the plan. But did you guys have any other changes to it after you received it? No?
I don't have any.
I put the MS1 numbers in.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all in.
Okay.
Let's see. I think there's no other loose ends on this one, so we can probably move on. Yeah, usually when I write ready for the plan up at the top, then it has been checked over, just waiting for any comments from the team.
Yeah.
The next table I sent to you was this one. And again, I just like to review this. This is table 3-1. This is our HIRA, hazard identification and risk assessment. Like to review this to make sure you still think things are in the correct order. They look pretty good to me. I don't see anything really out of line on this. And I would tell you if I did. For instance, if you had earthquake up as second, I would say, well, wait a minute now. We don't get earthquakes in New Hampshire. But you have severe winter weather, which is very common in these plans to be high up on the level, and inland flooding is your two highest. High winds followed third, and believe it or not, in the state of New Hampshire, those are the three top hazards that I see as I'm going around from town to town. Infectious disease has come up on the chart because of COVID and all the other stuff that goes on. Extreme temperatures in some towns, particularly those with a high poverty level, that gets higher up too. And everything else just seems fine to me, unless you guys see anything that needs to be tweaked.
No.
Let's look down here at the technological ones. Again, I don't see any real hassle with any of these. They all look pretty good to me, unless you think hazardous materials should be moved up.
No, it's fine where it is.
Okay. And the ones we're not addressing, or we'll address very briefly in the plan, are avalanche, coastal flooding, conflagration, and radiological. And radiological, again, that one's about Seabrook. So this hazardous materials one is the one that really deals with anything else that's hazardous. Okay, let's move on to our hazard descriptions. We got almost all the way through it. If you remember from the last meeting, what we did is we talked about our hazards. I also wrote some copy in another table. And then we talked about possible mitigation for those hazards. And that's what the red items indicate, possible mitigation. We didn't do it mitigation for everyone because sometimes mitigation is just public education. But we went down through our list of hazards and finished all of the natural hazards. And we were working on technical and human caused hazards when we stopped our meeting. Let's see. I'll just on hazardous materials. I'm going to add that other hazardous materials are located in town.
Okay.
Okay. Mass casualty incidents. We stopped there. Have you had any mass casualty incidents in roughly the last 5 years?
No.
Is there anything about the town of Grafton that makes it more likely that mass casualty incidents could occur besides busing children? Because I always cover that.
No,
You're not a major tourist destination. You don't have. Do you have a lot of tourist
yeah,
activity through?
we do have tourist activities, but I think the biggest thing is we don't know what's transported on Route 4, and obviously we had a large propane tanker overturned just a few months ago.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. Hold on. Um, Unknown on Route 4.
Yeah,
What's traveling on it? And was that considered a mass casualty incident or just a hazardous materials accident?
that could have been mass casualty if it exploded.
Tell me about that truck. Tell me what happened. What was it? A semi?
It was a semi truck full of propane being delivered from a terminal in uh, Vermont to, I think, the seacoast.
And it turned over.
Turned over.
Any spillage?
No, no, fortunately, no leakage. And that was propane.
Oh, that's gas, anyways. No
Yeah.
leakage. Was anyone hurt?
Minor injuries to the driver, but it had a potential to uh,
To blow
because
up?
combined with the other hazardous materials in the area, it would have been a fantastic sight.
Was it near other
Yeah,
hazardous materials?
yeah. Oh God.
Okay. I think I told you last time when I write in all these notes, what they become is part of chapter 5. That's when I bring the plan down to a local level. And in that section, I'll just talk about, just what I wrote here, that there was no leakage, minor injuries. There was potential as it was near other hazardous materials, and it could have been a major event, something to that effect.
Great, thank you.
Is there any mitigation we can do for any of these? I'm looking at it now. Long-term utility, that's tree trimming, cyber events. Everything backed up at the town hall, but also backed up to the cloud, and you have an IT team. Just looking for mitigation here more than
Okay.
anything.
Have we ever done a test of disaster of our computers being hacked?
Um, I would have to check with the IT team. I can ask them
Yeah, because
what their protocol is.
there should be a plan to actually test that to see if it actually works. There's no point in having, you know, put this in the plan if we didn't even test the plan can actually be implemented.
That would actually, John, that would fall more in an EOP. There's a new emergency support function in EOP that is all about cyber. So when you do when or if you do your EOP update, that will certainly get attention in that. But I'll make a note here as well. Hasn't been tested. Should be done. That could become a mitigation action item.
Yeah, I'll check with IT. I'll see what they do and what they have in place.
We have found that most IT companies have something for catastrophic failure of the site of the internet.
And they still fail.
Yeah, usually they do.
What you can do.
Transport accidents, mass casualty. We're talking Route 4 mostly in that case. Is there anything dangerous on Route 4?
June,
Yep.
also 4A, okay?
And
That's another
4A.
major corridor. We just don't see it too often because Enfield and Springfield typically get there first or deal with it. But there's a potential there because of Simple Energy's fuel depot of currently they have propane, super large tanks. I think they're 30,000 gallon tanks of propane.
And that's in your town or in another town?
No, that's in Grafton on 4A.
Okay, and I think we mentioned that let's see.
Yeah, we mentioned
Simple
it.
energy. Yeah,
Yeah,
simple energy, propane.
but they have to deliver, to the large tankers. and
Right.
to refill it. So that's where our potential is. In event of an accident, them going to it,
Okay. Um, any mitigation we can do on that case? Is there anything on Route 4, like slow down, or anything else we can do on Route 4 or 4A that would help mitigate the chance of something like that happening?
uh 4A through Grafton there is a straight road with very clear uh, way to see. There's no curves. It's basically straight through Grafton.
Okay.
Uh, Now Route 4 has a few curves in it, but uh, they just need to follow the speed limit and be conscious of their load. There's nothing we can do. Making the road wider is not the solution.
Okay. Plus, you'd have to go through 100 hoops to get the state to do it.
Yes.
Did we ever figure out what caused that tanker rollover?
Uh,
Was it operator error?
I think that's what it finally ruled as. I mean, mechanically, the truck looked pretty good from my standpoint till we cut it up.
The roads were fine.
Yeah, the roads were fine.
Okay, let's talk about aging infrastructure just for a second. We talked about the town offices, 1800s need some work. Is there any? No, there's no current plan to replace it. Highway shed need a new one. That one was built in '93, so that might be mitigation there. Let me just make that red. Police station, part of town office. So far, there's no plan to replace it. Fire station in good shape. And roads, we gave a C to D rating. Shoot for a 5 to 8 year time and budget. That shoot for 5 to 8 a year. Okay, I got it. According to the budget, there's a paving budget, but no outline planned. You have a lot of culverts. I actually counted them up today. On that list that Sarah sent me. Of those culverts, there was only 13 is 20, like 29 or something like that. There wasn't that many. But I'm sure you've got a lot of other culverts in road that aren't in town that are not on that list. Is that true?
Oh, that's definitely true. That number is well low, uh, because unfortunately there has not been a good plan of checking and flushing all culverts and inventorying the culverts. There are culverts that are buried, and we'll probably find out where they are when things don't work correctly.
No, that's kind of what it's been.
I mean, there's a culvert by my property that they nicked and they just took the culvert out, but I don't think they understand the amount of uh, water that comes off the hills that I think they're going to find out. It's going to be a horrendous mud season by my house and Sarah's house.
Yeah.
uh, because that culvert got pulled. So
Yeah.
that culvert was there for a reason way back. I know the volume of water that comes off that mountain. I was surprised they just didn't replace it, but okay, we'll see how things go.
What road is that on?
That's on Slab City.
So a Slab City Road culvert might need to be replaced.
Yeah, well, yeah, put back in because they pulled it out. But there's a lot of little culverts like that around town that, you know, I mean, there's certain rules in culverts that you want to change the direction of water for every 50 feet of elevation just to slow it down. You don't want it just to keep building up momentum. So,
Okay, I made another note of that. Now, what I've made those notes on is our final table, which is the mitigation action plan itself, just so we don't forget to talk about them.
okay, great.
Let's go back to this one. Okay, terrorism violence. Has there been any in town in the last 5 or so years? Anything of note? Anything I can Google?
No, no. The only thing we had,
Maybe not terrorism, but we've had
well, yeah. So we had a shooting here. Let's see.
3, 4 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's been longer than that.
Has it?
I think 5 years ago we had a shooting here on Route 4. Uh, people
Is Ruth Fogle?
Road rage shooting. It was great.
There was the murder.
Well, the Grafton's always good for a murder or suicide every 3 to 5 years. So I wouldn't.
I'm not going to write that in the plan.
Yeah, but it's not terrorism. But domestic violence really is the driver.
Yeah.
From time to time, but I won't write that either.
Okay.
Just gives me a reference of what we're talking about.
We're
The
not
next,
writing a tourist pamphlet.
the next one is known and emerging contaminants. Now we know there's radon in the granite. We know there's some arsenic in some water. Do you have anything particular in Grafton, either of those two or something else that you find particularly bothersome? Any PFOAs? Any dog
They
leaching?
test for PFAS by the dump.
Do they find any?
Um,
I don't know.
I don't know. That started before I came, and I know there was some mitigation that was done, but I don't know the ins and outs of it. And they haven't found any since I've been working here.
And how
Was
long?
it medication or well monitoring?
Mm, I'd have to look back. It may have just been well monitoring, but I feel like they had to do something with the wells. I'll have to look up the history on that.
If you find anything, just send it off to me and I'll add it in. Now, when did you start? How long ago?
Uh, July 2022.
22. Okay. So we can at least note that nothing has been done or found since 2022. Conflagration. Have you had a conflagration in town? And where might you have that? Do you have a collection of buildings, close buildings together?
Library Road is the buildings are really too close. Yeah.
And they're all older wooden frame?
Yes.
Let's talk to the library.
Yeah.
The library stone.
Library stone?
Yeah.
Have you had any events there in the past? Conflagration fire events?
No. But Canaan has a good history of it.
Did they have a fire recently down there?
Canaan?
Yeah.
No, but they had like half the town burned. That they had to use dynamite to stop it.
Wow. I don't remember seeing that in their plan. I did their plan.
Well,
But
that was back in the 1900s. So
oh,
what happens is the houses were close together and they're all wooden structures, and it started burning building after building after building, and the only way they stopped it was they used dynamite to blow up the building next to it, so there was no fuel to.
wow. Didn't
Yeah.
it's a side question, but let me actually, are we doing conflagration? Hold on a second. No, we're not even doing conflagration. I can take that
Okay.
off.
All right.
Yeah, and coastal flooding and radiological. So yeah, we don't need that one.
Okay.
Um, oh, I was going to ask you a question. It's a little off subject, but do you know who's the town manager in Canaan now, or the EMD?
The EMD is George Hennessy.
Lazarus.
Yeah, George. Yeah, I think Hennessy is the last name, but
No,
yeah,
John Hennessy was the EMD, but
yes,
George Lazarus was
George. There you go, George Lazarus. I'm sorry.
okay. Then he is still the EMD. He didn't want that
Yes.
job, um, but he's got it. Okay, let's talk about climate change. And we won't talk deeply about this. The basic questions. Are there any solar projects, wind projects, or green projects being conducted by the town of Grafton?
No.
Okay, usually that's the case. Um, are there any incentives for solar paneling on individual residents' homes?
Yes,
We do have a solar exemption.
and wind.
Great. Some towns don't even have that. All right. Now I want to talk about the wildland air interface. John, you know what that is. Sarah, in case you don't, I'll kind of explain it. Wildland urban interface is where humans build and develop when they're close to the forest. So it's where the forest and the people intersect. It's supposed to be, or technically by data, is the place where most fires start, because most fires are started by people. Um, Question I usually have here is, well, first of all, my general knowledge of Grafton is that you're forested pretty much throughout, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The second question I have for you, are there any particular neighborhoods outside of the Library Road neighborhood that would be susceptible to fire? Maybe they have dead end street, a lot of houses close together. Maybe they have a high incidence of softwoods or pines. Are there any particular neighborhoods that you think are more prone to wildfire risk than others?
No, because of the type of trees and soil, uh, nothing's more prone. Uh, I would say the most difficult place for us, if there was a fire, would be in the vicinity of Half Moon Pond because of difficulty of driving there because it's a private road that's not winter maintained.
Is there a lot of camps and stuff on it?
Yes, there's actually houses there.
How do they get in and out in the winter?
Snowmobile or hike.
Hmm. You have a lot of snowmobile trails down there?
Yes,
Have you had any accidents on those? Significant ones.
not for the past 20 years.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, town-owned bridges. I wrote this before after getting that list of culverts. Are there really about 15 plus bridges in town, and are two red listed, Wild Meadow Road and Riddle Hill? Is that correct?
So when I was looking at the red list, neither one of those showed up, which surprised me. So I feel like I need to reach out to um the state to see if that's accurate because the yeah, I don't know as if that's accurate. Because
Yeah, I
like I
was
said,
surprised
the
there was
list
only
only shows
one.
the Prescott Hill one, and the Prescott Hill one isn't even listed on
I
here.
think,
Well, that was more of a culvert, but
yeah, I think that Riddle Hill one is the Riddle Hill slash Davis Road in right
yeah.
there. I think, and that those are two large culverts that should be a bridge, but uh, maybe somebody's calling that a bridge, but it's quote not a bridge at this time. It's actually two giant culverts, which the state uh, really dislikes that, but we know that the bottom's rotted out of that culvert.
On the Riddle Hill Road, Davis Road.
Yeah,
And that's a mitigation right there.
yes,
Whether the state recognizes it or not, we need to put it in the plan because if 2 years from now you have a major flood and it blows out, it needs to be in your plan.
yeah.
Okay, we didn't find out state-owned bridges and red listed. I don't think that's too important anyway, so I'll skip that. I did look at the dams in town. Let's see, let me jump to this one over here. You have no high hazard dams, not even any significant hazard dams, only have low hazard and non menace dams. We'll talk about this again in a minute. I just wanted to check it for this purpose of hazard descriptions. So it looks like there's no significant dams in town. Um, However, in your estimation, are any of those dams going to cause structural damage if any of the ones that you do have in town? Again, I'll bring that back up. This is what you have. Grafton Pond. Oh, we said it could flood Enfield. Kill
Mhm.
Dam, widespread dispersal area, so that's okay. And nothing else looks like it would have a big flood risk. Did we already do this chart?
You're missing one.
What am I missing?
Oh, I'm sorry, Grants Pond. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, I got that in. We're going to come back and look at this again in a minute, but it looks like you've got pretty safe going in terms of dams.
Yes.
Okay, do you happen to know how many paved roads you have? How many gravel roads
No, I know it's about 45 miles worth, but
total?
yeah. but that's a Jeff question. Do you need them broken down by class?
No, not really. Basically, what I do with this information, it's not really that big a deal, but I try to impress in the plan upon how much work the road agent has to do to keep up. So I like to break it down just by gravel and paved. That way, it shows that yeah, gravel roads take more effort usually than paved roads, and I'm assuming you probably have a fair amount of gravel roads in Grafton.
Yes, I would say probably better than half.
Do you just need number of roads or you want mileage?
Mileage, road miles.
I'm texting Jeff now.
Okay. Okay, we didn't talk about the number of culverts, although you had said about 1,500 total. You did say that up above. Um, then looked at Sarah's list and what she sent me, and it said culvert. I guess it's culvert number 4 is in poor condition according to that list. It's
Yeah.
Preston Hill Road over Smith Brook. It was installed in 1976. It's 16 by almost 20 feet, and there are 26 total on the list that you sent me. That was the other number I came up with. Um, so those are just, I guess, in the state's mind, probably some culverts, but you were going to check on that anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, lightning protection. Do you know if the town hall, the fire station, or the highway shed has lightning protection?
No.
Do you think any of those buildings need lightning protection? Or should we do an assessment to see if they need it? We can do that.
Assessment to see needed, but they're all sitting below the trees, and there's no antennas on them on the building itself.
Hey. 68. Okay.
Okay. We'll leave that in as a possible mitigation action item. And again, it's possible that we'll do it to do an
Yeah,
assessment.
we got an update.
Sorry about that. So Jeff said that 68 total miles, 12 of that is paved, and then the rest is gravel.
Wow, that's a lot of gravel.
Yeah,
I can't do the math right now, but I'll do it later.
I got it. It's 56 gravel.
Okay. I don't need to see Jeff anymore, so I'll take that off. Okay, great. Tier 2 properties. John, you might know this. How many tier 2 properties do you have in town? Tier 2 reporting properties?
What's a tier 2?
You don't know. Okay. Um, a tier 2 report is something that is supposed to be done annually from hazardous materials locations. So your propane storage should be doing a tier 2 report every year, submitting it to the fire station usually.
Well, I'm not the fire chief anymore, so but I know I used to get them from AT&T because we're a mutual aid company to Kane, and AT&T has on Depot Street a power station for their long lines fiber, and they keep a lot of batteries in it.
Approximately how many other do you think, counting your fuel storage places and any place else that stores hazardous materials? Approximately how many do you think there are?
I would say there's probably easily a dozen.
I'll reach out to the fire chief too and just get confirmation.
Yeah, and that's the he should know the question is, and how many tier 2 properties are there?
Good luck. See, we have a commercial orchard in town, and I would consider that tier 2 because the chemicals they have to store, that if they were to catch fire, would kill a lot of people. You know, your pesticides, which would make an uh, organic phosphate. Yeah, it'd be very bad.
Do you have any golf courses? Because they store chemicals too,
No, we do not have golf courses.
or hockey rinks, skating
No,
rinks.
we do not. I have hockey rinks,
Okay.
but we do have an orchard, and most people would think, "Oh, it's a farm, whatever." No, 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 no. There's a lot of chemicals going into raising apples commercially. People just don't understand.
Okay. Let's go to development. As best as you can, tell me what's going on in Grafton. Do you have big subdivisions coming in? Let me preface it by saying this. In the plan, I usually start off my development section with a discussion about how development has changed since COVID, how sales boomed, how people left the cities and came north, how I was going to say something else. But anyways, the basic things about COVID that have happened, how camps became permanent homes. That's what I was going to say. But I haven't seen a lot of big subdivisions going up in the state. How about in Grafton? Are there any big subdivisions going in?
No,
Did
nothing
everything else
major.
I say sound true to for Grafton?
What's that?
Did everything else I say sound true for Grafton?
Um,
No, no, I don't think so. I think Grafton, because it's not on any major throughput, and because we have no zoning, people just own property and develop at their own time. There's no quote big development because and I maintain that the big developers love zoning because they could control their neighbors and things like that. Whereas Grafton, you'll have a somebody with a camper trailer living it right next to a mansion. So
yeah.
uh, I think there's the way the town is. It's just there's no incentive for big developers to come in and do anything.
Has there been lot line moves and mergers and things like that? Do you know?
There has been some typical mergers, but nothing um
Nothing
that
extraordinary.
right, nothing extraordinary.
All right. I also pull up some numbers from something called City Data if they have it. I don't trust it completely, but it shows a pattern of single home building, and and believe it, it's really true that in every town I go in, there was a big drop in home development after 2008, 2009, and in some towns they did increase it back up after COVID. But most towns stayed pretty level all the way through COVID until the sales boom. But I'll write something up. I'll
Something
probably
that can create a hazard or is probably creating a hazard that we're not aware of at this point.
what is
Uh, 2 years ago, a significant landowner passed away, and a lot of his properties have been logged, and we don't know what the full impact of that is yet. I mean, obviously there'll be sash in the woods that could possibly burn uh, within the next couple of years, but we don't know what has changed in the way the water's going to be captured by the property is now going to be released to the land.
does the land butt up on a major road or a road?
A bunch of roads.
So that logging could cause flooding,
Yes,
erosion and flooding.
yes, and we don't know the full impact yet. As you know, culverts are pretty sized to whatever the flow is, given uh, uh, the road, the usage of the road, and the width of the road, and the ditching, and all that other stuff. But normally those changes are subtle or slow over time.
Hmm.
I mean, how many the Williams properties? How much logging has occurred?
Um, Not quite a bit.
Yeah, so Ruggles mine area is all that has been logged on the top, on the bottom. Uh, so that Riddle Hill culvert, we're gonna find out what it's gonna take
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot
this
of
coming
logging
year.
happening.
We're gonna find out. Fortunately, most of Riddle Hill is well elevated above the uh, uh, brook or river terrain, if you will. But once it hits by Davis Road, that's relatively flat there, and I think this spring we'll see what the impact is. Unfortunately,
With all this snow. Did you guys? You guys have a lot of snow too.
Yeah, yeah, we need it. The water tables were really desperate. In fact, the frost only went in about 4 inches because there's no moisture deeper down.
Yeah. Yeah, a ton of snow up here. In Twin Mountain, I feel like we're kind of a little pocket where we're getting a lot of snow, but looking out my window and there's a ton of snow out here. Okay, let's go on. Public notice. We know that you put it on the website, and I've got copies of that over here. Announcement, you put it's still on the emergency page. I looked at it this morning. I didn't see another calendar, but we having one is fine. Um, and I also picked up your logo today, so I can use that in the plan. So we've got that covered. Do you know if public notice was also put at any physically put it at the post office or the town hall or anything?
Yeah, so there's a public notice at the post office and there's one here on our bulletin board,
Can you call it town office or town hall?
town office. And I'll add the future meetings to the calendar.
Okay.
I think they're on there, but
I didn't see today's. I didn't look further, but today's wasn't.
uh,
Okay. And the only other note I have is that hazardous materials are known to be in town. So we got this pretty much done. And again, this turns into paragraphs in the plan. And what we're going to go to now, we're moving right along here. So I don't want to go too fast because we need to make that match. We probably will stop after a while here just so we can have another meeting. But let's take a look at this chart. I'm going to tell you what this is all about. This is the historic hazard identification. So we're going back in time with this. And what I've done is I've listed the major disaster declarations, the emergency declarations, and any fire management assistance declarations that have happened all the way back to 1953. You might even see some dates earlier than that. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit on some of these, but we're going to go through several sections, starting with inland flooding and ending with droughts. Miscellaneous hazards and other hazards I'll explain later. But I did take some copy from our last meeting and added it to this, so we should be in pretty good shape. First off, we're starting with, let me do one other thing here. Oh no, it's already done. We're going to start off with inland flooding. And as you can see, what I did is I put all the inland flooding occasions in the plan by decade. So before 1970, obviously that's more than a decade, but we go back to 27 to 59. And then inland flooding for the next decade starting in 1970. And all of those bolded items are the disaster declarations that have occurred. The latest one occurred last summer and was mostly in the North Country. It was, I think it was July, and that was DR 4812. So that's the newest one. There's been a considerable increase in flooding events in the state, and a lot of people are blaming it on climate change. So now we're going to go down through the different hazards that have occurred. This actually looks ominous, but it goes very quickly. The red copy you see here comes from your old plan. So we said in your old plan that Grafton was hit with a severe storm on July of 73 that washed out Mild Meadows Road. Worst flooding in Grafton in many years. Half of the town's roads were impassable. I don't know who remembered that last time, but that is in the plan. And unless you have something to add to it, I'm just going to turn it black and say that it's done.
No, it's fine. That was from Bob Bassett because his father and himself worked at that time period.
Okay. The next one was a heavy rain event in October of 05. That was declared. And the last hazard mitigation plan, you said there was no significant impact in Grafton from that one. And again,
That's
I'm going to
correct.
go fairly quick. If you want to stop me and add anything to any of them, we'll stop and add it. There was a Mother's Day flood. This was huge in southern New Hampshire. And we wrote in the last plan the Grafton Fire Department went to Andover to pump out Proctor Academy. The problem has been mitigated. Some minor flooding occurred on Route 4 near the Grafton Danbury line.
Yeah, that's correct.
The next one was '07. This was the tax day storm. And we wrote that Grafton had more than 40 inches of snow during this storm. The road agent spent 3 days cleaning up after the storm.
That's correct.
Thank you. Then in '08, there was another declaration in Grafton, and we said there was no significant impact in the town. However, in Carroll County, there was a tornado that did not reach Grafton County. That was the one that went up through Atkinson and up through just south of Madison in that area. The next storm was a Memorial Day weekend storm. This one particularly hit the northern communities of Dalton and Lancaster. We had said last time there was no impact in Grafton.
That's correct.
July of 13, also no impact in Grafton.
That's correct.
July of 17, also, that was a big one. No impact in Grafton.
Okay.
From the last plan. There were two storms in 17. The first was in July, the second was in October, and it looks like you did have an impact on that one.
Yeah.
Flooding and wind damage occurred, wind damage to the fire station. Multiple roads experienced flooding and erosion. Prescott Hill Road flooded. An approximate 1/4 miles of Wild Meadow Road flooded, destroyed several culverts. Other roads were also affected by this storm. Logging operations may have exacerbated the situation. I think that's spelled wrong.
And that's my thinking of Riddle Hill if we have one of these.
Yeah, the next one talks about the best of it talks about Riddle Hill. Riddle Hill Road also experienced road flooding and erosion. It is currently still not open all the way. Or I can take that out. We don't need to say that. The Smith River overflowed its banks and did not cause building damage. Town will be submitting $140,000 worth of storm damages to FEMA under the presidential declaration. Do you know if you got that much money?
I think we did.
Okay, I'm going to make that blue too so I can fix that and say you did get it. Okay, the next one was July of 19. We don't have any notes on this one. This happened after your last plan. Anything particular that you can remember happened in July of 19?
No.
Okay, I'll write that one up. The next one was December of 22. And we did get some information on this at our last meeting. And that's what the green represents, what we talked about last time. In Grafton, there was minor road damage and a couple of washed out spots, but nothing major. The damage did not meet the threshold to submit for post-disaster funding.
Correct.
Good old 4740.
Yeah. We put in.
Here comes 4740. This was the July one, and what I wrote in green, it came from your last plan. The notes on the bottom are just my notes. In Grafton, the impact of the storm was significant. The town lost half of Spectacle Pond Road when a culvert plugged up. The damage took out half the road with holes as deep as 5 feet. The highway department rebuilt 1/4 miles of the roadway down steep terrain, upgraded 2 culverts, and reconstructed the ditch line with added riprap to slow stormwater flow to the 2 new culverts. In addition, Riddle Hill Road lost a plug culvert, which was later upsized and changed from metal to plastic. The town received $60,000 to $70,000 for post-disaster recovery. It's all right?
Yep.
Sounds like Riddle Hill, Wild Meadow are your 2 big ones.
Yeah, and we're for Wild Meadow, we are trying to get that grant to solve at the source, which is at the Grafton Alexandria line.
Well, you border a lot of towns.
Yeah.
Now, is that the one that we're fast tracking this for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The next one was the December 23 storm, and you had said at the last meeting that there was no significant damage from that one.
That's correct.
January 19th to 24. This one here was in Grafton and Rockingham, but we said there was no significant damage from that one.
That's correct.
July, this is the most recent one. This was 8/48/12, and we said there was no impact from this storm in Grafton.
That's correct.
And then we have something from your old plan, past and potential flooding, Spectacle Pond, Turnpike, and Prescott Hill roads. Maybe we should add Wild Meadow to that.
Yes.
Is Wild Meadow one word or two?
Uh,
Two.
two, yeah.
Several areas in town are known to have experienced flooding in the past and that would likely experience flooding in the future. It was just kind of a general statement about flooding. Are there any other particular areas you feel we should add? Got Wild Meadow, Spectacle Pond, Turnpike, and Prescott Hill.
Would we still consider Prescott Hill with the mitigation that they did with the road when they raised it up?
No, no, the choke point is still at the Prescott Bridge by Giraldi's.
Yeah, it still does come up over the.
It can't. It comes close. So if we have another Irene event, it's going to take.
Okay.
I mean, it needs to be. It needs to be made wider. You can't make it any deeper unless you raise the road.
Yeah.
But it does need to be a little bit wider.
It doesn't flood as bad as it used to, but it still has the potential to flood.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about that again later too.
Okay.
All right. Now we're going on to wildfires. Now, I list a few big wildfires here because when I go travel through the state, I find that people either say we're ripe for a new wildfire, a big wildfire, or they say it will never burn in the state of New Hampshire. And I just wanted to make the point in the plan that there have been big wildfires. Now, obviously, the 1947 one was a long time ago, and that was not in Grafton County. So I wrote that a fire did not reach Grafton County or Grafton. There's also one in 53 at Shaw Mountain that did not reach Grafton County. That was all in Carroll County. Table Mountain in Carroll County also did not reach Grafton County. The Lucy Brook fire in also in Carroll County did not reach Grafton. After that, we get to some more recent ones. And the big question on most of these is whether or not Grafton sent any help for any assistance for these fires. So the first was the Bale Mountain fire in Ossipee. That was 275 acres, and I would assume that the fire department did not go to that one.
No.
Okay. The next one was the Stoddard fire. Do you know if anyone from Grafton went to the Stoddard fire in 16?
No.
And then there was the Covered Bridge fire in Albany, which was huge, 329 acres. It was primarily handled by the Forest Service. And I don't assume you sent anyone for that one either. One you might have sent people for was the Dilly Cliff fire. Do you know if anyone went up to the Dilly Cliff fire in Woodstock?
Yes, I did.
Was it just you, or were several firefighters sent to assist?
No, there was a couple of us. That was fun.
That was quite a fire. A lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
with that one. Yeah, spell fighter. Okay, I'm going to write that up better, so I'm just going to highlight it for now. May 9th, there was the fire in Shelburne. Now, I'm pretty sure you didn't go to that one. That's too far away. And then there was one in Crawford Notch State Park. That was the Bemis Brook fire. Bemis Brook fire. Did anyone go to that one?
No.
Okay. And then from your old plan, we have there was a wildfire on Isinglass Mountain in Spectacle Pond. And it's an area of wildfire potential in a very inaccessible location. Would you say
I'd like to add to that
okay?
Half Moon Pond area.
Would you say all three of these areas are then in some way susceptible?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason is steep terrain, very steep terrain.
And land forage land cover. Okay. So I'm going to add this one here. This is also 2018 plus 2025. All right, I'll rate that one up better. Any other wildfires you want to mention? And has there been anything significant since the last plan? I think we said last time there wasn't.
No, we're okay.
All right, so this is okay here. Now we're going to go on to high wind events. Now, like flooding, I kind of bumped them together a little bit. I did tropical cyclones and went back to 38, all the way to Sandy in 12. Now, Sandy was the last tropical or post-tropical cyclone or hurricane to hit the state. We've had some high wind events, i.e., tornadoes, but the last really of any significant size tornado was actually in 2008 with that Carroll County storm. Going down further, like wildfires, I did add a couple in here that I think are relatively important or that came from your old plan. The 38 hurricane was the first. And what we wrote last time is the 38 hurricane brought heavy rains to Grafton, but there was no recollection of significant wind damage or flooding, other than one team member stated that her mother used to talk about this hurricane. That came right from your old plan. The next one is September 1999. Tropical storm Floyd brought heavy rains to Grafton. There was significant wind damage and flooding. Lost almost all of Wild Meadows Road and a number of other roads as well. Back to 99. Katrina. The question on Katrina is basically, did you take pets or evacuees from the state of Louisiana? And we had written last time that you did not. I've only found one community in the whole state that has taken pets in. Nobody that I know of took evacuees in. Tropical Storm Irene. And we have quite a bit here. Several areas of Grafton experienced flooding during Irene when 5.5 inches of rain fell in 1 hour. Millbrook Road washed out, Spectacle Pond Road, Wild Meadow, and Riddle Hill Road washed out as well. One home had water in the basement, but it has been since mitigated. Route 4 flooded near Bullock's Creek crossing due to the volume of rain. FEMA funding was received, roughly $1.2 million for the area. Grafton got over $100,000. Sound right?
Yes. Yeah.
The next one is Tropical Storm Sandy. And it said, although Tropical Storm Sandy brought heavy rains to Grafton, there was no significant wind or wind damage or flooding.
That's correct.
Sandy did not impact very many communities. Then there was a microburst in July of 14.
Ah, that was fun.
Gustnado. It's the only time I've ever heard that term. Is from
That's the first time I've heard of it.
NATO.
A gustnado, wind leading edge of severe thunderstorm, was reported by the team. The winds came down from the mountains, taking down large trees and damaging several roofs. One tree fell into a bedroom, but no one was hurt. The gustnado was of short duration, very sporadic, and localized. Lots of trees taken down in the vicinity of Wild Meadow Road, Slab City Road, and Prescott Hill Road. Some areas, trees were down, but paper plates on the table were not affected. Some roads were closed but opened by the next morning. Sounded like a freight train. It took 22 10-wheel loads to remove the large amount of debris. I don't suppose you have anything more to add to that.
No, that was pretty good.
We'll just make this one black. Any other wind events since your last plan that you want to talk about?
No, it's just the usual wind events that happen here. I mean, you just clean up, the 2 or 3 trees that fall and
Move on.
Those were the significant ones.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about severe winter weather. I've got ice storms listed together. There was actually one in 2010 too, but it wasn't declared. And then severe winter storms, snowstorms, and we take those all the way through 2024 with the April storm that was 4799. So we're going to go down through these. We don't talk about past storms that much, but we do talk about a few. We talked about the winter of 68-69 because it was such a significant snow accumulation year. But we wrote there was no significant recollection in Grafton other than heavy snow that was handled by the road agent. Then in 78, the same thing, heavy snow, but the road agent was able to handle it. 1998, that was the big blizzard of 98. Grafton experienced trees down on Kinsman Highway and Dean Hill Road, as well as many other places all over town. Worse at elevations over 900 feet. Some people were out of power for about 10 days. Tree damage along roads and forests, which created future wildfire risk, used heavy equipment to move trees and ice.
Yep, that's fine.
And then December of 20, and this looks like it came from the last meeting. In an unusual snowstorm overnight, 2 to 3 feet of snow fell in Grafton. Photos show thigh-high depths. Although it took the highway department a while to dig out, extra help from outside and the use of bulldozers was not necessary. Sound right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to highlight this and this because I have to fill those in. 2001, road agent handled the heavy snow accumulation in Grafton. 2003, I think that was a little more significant up here. And what we wrote is the road agent handled the snow.
Yep.
2005 was a big snow year across the state. This is what we wrote last time. Grafton County received aid for one of these storms. Some trees were down from the weight of the snow, but otherwise only minor damage. The heavy snow accumulation in Grafton was handled by the road agent.
Yep.
I gotta do some fixing on that one too. I gotta take a few numbers out of it. We don't need everybody else's numbers, just Grafton's. 08, road agent handled the heavy snow accumulation in Grafton. The snowstorm of 2010, this one was ice storm in some places. Again, we said the Grafton road agent handled the snow. 2011, that was the October Halloween storm.
Oh, yeah.
Our outages, I still have Boomtown in here. The road handled the snow. Anything else you remember from that one?
No, we've handled it ourselves. I mean, I was out there chainsawing with the rest of the guys.
February of 13, that was also not necessarily in Grafton County. It was more in Carroll County. Road agent handled the accumulation. And the notes next to come from the last meeting. So February 3rd to 4th of 2023, this was the dangerously cold weekend. Grafton experienced dangerously cold temperatures, but no injuries, deaths, or significant damages were reported. The town opened the fire station for shelter, but no one showed up.
Yep, that's Grafton.
Actually, I don't know of any town that had people show up on that day because it was only a weekend. It wasn't that big a deal. Then there was the April 4th storm of 2024. We had said last time that the road agent handled the accumulation.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're on to earthquakes. I've posted earthquakes back to 1905. The state actually had them posted all the way back to 16 something, and I didn't think they were enough to worry about. But the last big earthquake in the state, outside of the Portsmouth one, which wasn't that big, actually happened in Hollis Center, Maine. It was a 4.7. Now, what we've done in this list is we've listed a bunch of earthquakes. I'm going to slowly go down through it. I just want you to look at it quick and tell me if you felt any of them. Now, Canterbury's not too far away from your town. You might have felt that one or the Sanborn ones. Do you know if you felt any of those?
Before my time here.
Okay. There was Merrimack, Mass. You probably didn't feel that one. Fremont, New Hampshire. Probably didn't feel that one.
No.
Hollis, Maine. The one that did happen in Hollis Center, Maine, the biggest one. Did you feel that one? A lot of communities felt that one.
Huh.
But didn't you didn't?
No.
I've got to add one in here.
Pass it off as a truck driving by.
Yeah.
What's that?
And so we probably passed it off as a truck driving by.
It actually felt like a truck running into my house. I felt it. Then we listed a bunch that were much smaller. And I'm just going to go through them real quick. Andover, there was one in May of 23 in Andover. That's fairly near you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel that one? No? It was small. It was only 2.2. And one more we have to add in here, and that is the Portsmouth one. Did you guys feel that one that just happened?
The one that just happened,
Yeah.
no, but again, probably passed it off as like we probably
Yeah.
were like, oh, it's the truck or
My
they
wife,
must be blasting.
my wife said she felt something, but I I was on the road at the time. I didn't feel anything. So
I'm going to say Felton Grafton, but no damage reported.
yeah,
Right, yeah.
I felt it up here.
I mean, I did have some people ask me, like, did you feel that? I'm like, no, feel what?
Yeah,
So,
it was my the only reason I knew it. My lampshade shook. It's the only reason I knew.
and June, I think a lot is because where you are is the Twin Mountain area is you're closer to the granite ledge, if you will, whereas most of Grafton really sits in a sediment basin. So you may feel it because you're closer to the granite slab when it shakes.
I'm gonna write that note down too. Tell me something. How would you describe your forest? Mixed forest, or would you say more prominently softwood or hardwood?
Mixed.
Okay. All right. So that's all the earthquakes, and that will take us right up to very recently. Droughts. There's been droughts in the state since 1775. There were quite a few droughts since 2000. 2001 to 2002, 16, 20, and 22. So what I've listed here is the major droughts and what the impact they had on the state. In 16, I got this from your old plan. At 16, you had said in the old plan that several dug and drilled wells dried up in Grafton, and there were several small fires that resulted, but nothing significant.
That's correct.
Now, in 2021, from the last meeting, we wrote in Grafton, a few dug wells and springs dried up. Fire ponds got low, but not dry.
That's correct.
And then the 22 drought in Grafton, a few dug wells and springs dried up. Some people switched from dug to artesian. Ponds again got low, but not dry.
That's correct.
Okay, and 24, this must have been a relatively minor drought. Another drought also impacted Grafton. In this drought, fire ponds ran low again. Some wells dried.
Yes, and rivers were extremely low. In fact, I don't think we could even drafted.
That was just last summer.
Yes.
Last I looked, we didn't really have any major drought. I gotta look at it again. I look at it almost every week. I'm gonna write this one up again.
And again, Grafton has a unique pattern. It's different than our neighboring towns, radically different, even within the town. I think you could divide the weather in Grafton into three different areas.
Where it could be snowing on one and raining on the other, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now we get to miscellaneous hazards, and here we talk about the odd things that have happened, such as trucks rollover. We'll talk about that. We've got COVID, which is the first two because it was both declared and it was also an emergency declaration. By the way, notice the number 4516. That's the money that was given for COVID from the feds, and that's what your grant is under 4516. So you're actually using COVID money to do this plan.
Uh,
Now, the solar storm and space weather that happened in May of 2024, Grafton experienced minor cell interruptions for AT&T customers. That's all we got from the solar storm.
okay.
Now, I don't think it probably had too much of an impact. Did you have any impact from the eclipse?
not that I can
No,
remember.
no.
Okay, I'm going to add the truck rollover in here. I'll add that in. from our notes we took earlier. So I'll write that up. Are there any other unusual circumstances or unusual hazards that have taken place that you want to record? Mostly in the last 5 years.
No.
Okay. Now on the bottom here where it says other hazards, we just fill this in. I'll fill this in myself. That will include any hazards for which we did not have an example. So it's nothing you have to worry about this time.
Okay.
All right, so we're all done with this table. We did a great job. There's only a few that I have to tweak a little bit. Otherwise, this one will be ready, and I'll try to get this mailed to you as well. I'll just make a note of that. All right, we're going to go on to the next one. I feel like we might have done some of this last time. Nope, we didn't. This is your critical infrastructure, and I expect this to go very quickly. You have your fire station, which is your primary EOC, your primary shelter, and is used for fire response. Now, on the far right columns, we have all hazards in one or all hazards in flooding or other particular hazards. What I basically ask is the fire station or any of the buildings that we're looking at, are they in a particularly hazardous zone? So if they are in the flood zone, we'll note it. If they are on top of a hill surrounded by forest, we'll note a wildfire risk. If they happen to be on Route 4, right next to a propane dump, well, I mentioned hazardous materials. So we'll do that as we go down through here. This particular table is split up into sections. The first is emergency response facilities. These are facilities that usually are activated immediately upon the onset of an emergency. Then we have evacuation routes, bridges and culverts on the evacuation route, helicopter landing zones, dams, and then we get into non-emergency response facilities and people to protect, and last but not least, potential resources. So I'm going to go down through all of them and verify that what we did last time is still accurate and change them if we need to. So first of all, the fire station. It's still the primary EOC, still the primary shelter, and it is used for fire response. It's not in the flood zone. It has good defensible space, so it's not in a wildfire zone. Is there any other risk at the wildfire station that's significant?
No.
Okay, and 1 means that it doesn't have a risk. 2 would mean it has a moderate risk, and if there's a 3 there, it will mean it has a big risk. So we'll see if we've got any 3s as we go down through here. Then we've got the town office or police station. It's a secondary EOC and home for town government. It's right next to the fire station, so that's also all hazards 1. The highway garage, heavy equipment, sand and gravel, all hazards 1, we said last time. Now, again, stop me if any of them have any particular hazard. The Muskoma Regional High School, regional.
Sorry, for the highway department, we store fuel down there
Oh,
for
okay.
the emergency vehicles and the town truck. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah,
Uh,
that in.
I don't know how big their tanks are.
well, they're the gasoline tank I think is 1,000 gallons, and the diesel I think is 3,000. I think, but yeah, Jeff would know.
All town vehicles get fuel there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't say that's a hazard, would you, John?
No, no, because they're even though they're close to the main buildings and things like that, but they're properly covered. There's no fire. No, there's no fire suppression system, but I think it's sufficiently covered and grounded.
Okay, the next one we did was Muskoma Regional High School because it can be used as a regional shelter. That's all hazards, but there was a flooding component. I remember this from doing Canaan's plan too for the entrance road only. Did that ever get mitigated?
No, no.
That's still
They
flooding.
they did rebuild the bridge, but
I don't think they did anything
no, they
to it, though.
didn't do anything else. They just rebuilt the bridge there. They didn't raise the bridge. They didn't do anything different. They just repaired the bridge.
So there is a flooding component still there.
Yes,
Would you
still
say it's
floods.
a big problem, moderate problem, or not really a problem?
It's a It's more of an annoyance at this time, but it could be a moderate problem in the future
And we'll put a 2 in there.
because that would affect us transporting people to the hospital if it got over a foot.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got all the evacuation routes here. Route 4, 4A, Dean Road to Slab City Road to Prescott Hill Road to Fowler Road. Well,
No,
we
that's
changed that.
crazy. Uh, no, hang on.
Yeah, I'm pulling down to this. Dean Road to Slab City Road to Prescott Hill Road, West Meadow Road to Lower Meadow Road, Orange Pond Road to Razor Hill Road to Turnpike Road, Kinsman Road to Grafton Pond Road.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna double check. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I would go so it's Dean Road to Slab City Road to uh Prescott Hill Road, then it'd be to Kinsman, not Fowler. The Fowler's a dead end.
Kinsman.
Yeah.
Okay. And the top three that I just highlighted, they have no big significant flood risk, just a very minor one.
Yeah, Route 4 is minor.
About 4A and Dean Road.
They're minor.
Okay. Then we've got Wild Meadow Road to Lower Meadow Road. We said that had a moderate flood risk.
Yeah.
Orange Pond Road to Razor Hill Road to Turnpike Road. We said that had a moderate risk.
And Orange Pond, Razor Hill.
That wasn't on the last list. I'm going to compare
Well,
it.
Ever flood there?
well, it doesn't flood. I mean, any road could be taken out, so I'm not going to worry about that. But that, yeah, you can drive through there. Yeah, that'd be safe to drive through there. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. And Kinsman Road to Grafton Pond Road.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So only ones we said had a slightly higher risk were Wild Meadow and Orange Pond.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll compare these with the ones that were in the other table to make sure they match.
Okay.
Bridges and culverts, and I probably did this out of GIS when I did it last time we did this plan. That's what the numbers represent. Um, and I don't do mapping anymore because it's senseless. They have to make them so small you can't even read them. But these are roughly your bridges on evacuation routes. It's a bridge or culverts. Is there anything missing, you think, from this list? And do you think any of them have a higher flood risk than normal?
Hmm. Yeah. Millbrook would be at the bridge there. I would say I would I would kick that up a little bit.
Okay. The rest okay?
Yeah, I'll have to think about that and go over with Jeff. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
we're
I'll
good.
send this one to you too after the meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll get out today, but it will get out today or tomorrow or Monday.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to helicopter landing zones. We listed four of them. I don't know if these are official landing zones, but they do work. Recreational field. Where is that located?
On Prescott, it's practically the intersection of Prescott and Route 4.
Okay, we have Sargent Field, Deerfield Farm, and Ed Edstrom Field. Are any of those in a flood zone?
No, no, the rec field is.
Would you give it a one or two or three? Three being the worst.
Uh, I'd give it a 2.
I also write up a special area of the plan about wildfire and flooding risk because they're two of the biggest hazards in the state. So I go back to this and I will point out that we said that that had a little bit of an elevated flood risk.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is dams, and I did get these off GIS just the other day. We've got Grafton Pond Dam, Kilton Dam, Tewksbury, Hoyt, Recreation Pond.
Hang on. White Brook?
To private dam.
Yeah,
These were listed by
yeah.
yes.
White Brook at on Prescott Road. On the other side of it is a big beaver dam that the guy maintains that dam. But it's an earthen one. But uh, if that blew, what would happen? Well, the area of my house always floods. That's not the thing. The furthest I've seen it flood was it came up to within 2 feet of the road, and that was a super big storm, and that was about 25 years ago.
So I want to give them all hazards flooding in a one because it's unlikely.
Yeah,
Grants Pond Dam, who owns that?
state of New Hampshire.
DES?
Yep.
Okay. Grafton Pond Dam could flood Enfield. Kilton Dam has a wide dispersal area, and the rest of them are non-menace. So that makes sense to say they could flood, but probably minimal.
Yeah.
Last time for non-emergency response facilities. Now these are facilities you would go to and operate secondarily. Sometimes we put in secondary shelters here, utilities, things of that sort. Last time we did the plan, we said there were no non-emergency response facilities to identify.
I would say that still holds true.
Do you have a battery storage place? You said AT&T. What does AT&T have?
They have a battery storage place, but that's in Canaan on Depot Street.
Okay, it's in Canaan. Okay.
But we're part of their mutual aid partners that would respond to that area.
All right. Now we're going down to facilities to protect. And here we put in places to protect. Now, Eastern Propane, is that a different name? No, that's the same. Propane Depot has a different name. Is that right?
Hang on.
The Eastern Propane, is that still there? Are they still using that facility? Because
Oil.
Roby just put in his garage over there.
Yeah, but they still
Are they still using their oil over there?
Yeah. Now is Roby owns the place or renting?
I have no idea.
Okay, I think he's probably renting.
Okay.
But I do see trucks occasionally go there. And that's oil.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Okay.
I just saw that he went in.
Now, Propane Depot on 4A, that's Simple Energies. Uh, and they're active, and
We gave them a 3 last time.
that I would still hold it as a 3.
And Eastern Propane, we gave a 2.
Yes, because it would only be an oil fire. And we know how to deal with that a lot easier.
Is there anything else we want to add to the? Well, let me go through the rest of them first. We have Carding Mill, which is historic. We said that
We don't own it anymore.
No, we don't own that anymore.
take that one out.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
If
also
it caught fire, it burned before we even got there.
okay Millbrook Christian Church, possible secondary shelter gathering of people. We said that's all hazards. 1 town office. Do you have a town hall too?
Yeah, so our town hall is really just a meeting house. Um,
Do you use it still?
yeah, so we hold meetings there and people rent it out to use for events.
Okay, we gave that all hazards 1. Historical Society building, all hazards 1. The Pine School, Cherry Hill, historic, all hazards 1.
Yeah.
Christian Union Church, gathering of people, all hazards 1. And Half Moon Pond, collection of summer camps and residences, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Residences, all hazards and wildfire risks. We have that as a 2. Do you want
Yes.
to elevate that to a 3 or keep it at 2?
That I could justify 3 because if it we had a fire there a few years ago, and if we didn't stop it where we did, it would have been a nightmare.
Okay. Do we want to talk about any other hazardous materials locations in town
Uh,
and put them in or not?
uh, there's one more place. I think
Leave it out?
we'll leave it out for now.
Yeah, we can. Whoop, I took the wrong one out. We can add anything, subtract anything right up until this plan goes to FEMA.
Okay. All right.
I also made a note that I'm going to check the New Hampshire and the federal government's list of historic places to see if there's any more besides your historical society and Pine School. See if there's a
Okay.
historic list. So I'll check that out.
Okay. Great.
Potential resources. This is a shortened list. Usually in our EOPs, we do a very long list compared to this. But we put in our local um, resources for this one. So we have the state DOT shed. They often just sand. What else do they have at the state DOT shed?
That's it. Just sand.
Okay.
Our DOT is handled out of Canaan
Okay.
facility.
Shed is you do have a DOT shed in town?
Yes, it's on Route 4A, and all they have is salt there, salt and sand.
Okay. Grafton County Storage, that's still available. Food and water.
No, wipe it out. No longer exists.
Razor Hill Construction for a contractor.
That's one of them. Phelps is another one, but okay.
What's the other one?
Uh, uh, Phelps out of Danbury. He's a contractor.
FELTZ.
Yeah.
PH.
Spell it for me, Sarah.
PHE.
Oh, Phelps.
Yeah.
And I'm so assuming he's all hazards one.
Yeah.
Frank Services, is that still available? Is that a no?
Yeah. Frank's is done.
SG Reed and Claremont.
We
Towing.
still use them. Yeah.
Sable and Sons in White River Junction, also towing.
I believe.
Yeah, we still use them.
Canaan Hardware in Canaan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Enfield Pharmacy in Enfield.
No,
That's gone.
that's gone.
Really?
Yeah.
And Muskoma Health Center in Canaan.
That is now called Health First, right?
Yeah.
Health First.
Health First.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other local potential resources you want to list?
Oh well, Green Oaks for
Gravel.
gravel.
All hazards.
One.
Okay, I didn't know if we wanted to say more about it. There we go. All right. And that's it for this chart. We're gonna move it.
Actually, Green Oaks. Uh, is that hazards we have to protect from, or that they are potential incident in that area?
I think we should add a hazmat material in there.
Yeah.
And do you want to elevate from 1 to something else?
Yeah, let's go to 2 on that one.
Okay. All right. Great job. We got this one done. We're going to get this plan done today.
No, we can't.
Well, no, we can't, right? I don't know if we should go on again or not. I'll do a little bit on the next one. The next one is about what you've accomplished since the last plan. And actually, I'm going to, let's see how I want to handle this. On the left, the red is from your last plan directly. That was your mitigation action item from the last plan. And on the right, in the blue language, I have given sample language. And if it's right, we'll just say, okay, it's good. If it's not, we'll tweak it. So last time you were supposed to continue to monitor and maintain brush cutting, drainage, and culvert system maintenance. What I've written on the right side has to do primarily with tree trimming to protect against ice storms, severe winter weather, windstorms, things of that sort. So what I wrote for sample language is, as trees become damaged and threaten structures on and town roads, the highway department removes them. DOT, Electric Co-op, and Eversource do this for state roads. Strategy is deferred to continue local tree and brush removal efforts to help mitigate the effects of high winds, ice storms, wildfires, and other natural hazards. Now, if you can see here, it says completed, deleted, or deferred. Now, I'm going to assume that the road agent does pick up trees because that's something they all do. And I'm going to say and deferred so that he continues to do it. Where it says deferred, it just means that this action item will be carried over to become another action item for this plan. So it will be repeated. So that's the only thing the word deferred means. So is that language acceptable to you guys?
Well, the thing of it is, the co-op and Eversource have contractors that uh, do preemptive tree trimming, okay, on an ongoing basis, and it's not just on state roads, but to uh, we have some power lines that actually go through the middle of the woods, and they've been really proactive in trimming. Yeah, you see the stuff they did by Height of Land from Route 4?
No.
Oh, they actually had tracked vehicles and they followed where the line was out in the woods.
Oh,
Yeah, so I mean they've cleared it real nice.
I know they've been out
Yeah.
doing stuff, but I don't go that way very often.
Yeah, I hear that in most communities that they're really doing a great job. So what I added in the middle of is New Hampshire Electric Co-op and Eversource have been very proactive in trimming trees and under power lines and along roads.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll make that one black. The next one is about inspecting fire hydrants and continue the maintenance of fire hydrants. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you know how many dry hydrants there are in Grafton?
1, 2. I know of 2.
Oh no, there's more than 2.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay, so let's see. There's one up at the Hardy Hill. There's one on Sergeant Road. There's one on Razor Hill. There's one by Tunnel.
Yeah.
That's 4.
Prescott Hill.
Prescott Hill, that's 5. There's one up at Ed Enstrom's place. That's 6. We have 6.
Okay. Do you have any pressurized hydrants?
No.
So what I wrote here, let's see if this is adequate now. I don't need to list all of those hydrants unless some of those need replacement or repair. Do any of those dry hydrants need replacement or repair right now?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So what I wrote is dry hydrants, 6 of them, and drafting sites throughout Grafton provide water resources for firefighting. There are no pressurized hydrants. I'm taking that right off that statement. This strategy was deferred to maintain, not the pressurized because there aren't any. The dry hydrants and other water resources. The fire department does that, right?
Yes.
to help mitigate the effects of structure fires and wildfires.
Yes.
So it's just about maintaining dry hydrants and drafting sites.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll make that one black. The next one's about NIMS and ICS training. You were supposed to, oh, by the way, this also says to consider new locations. And I do have another one, another action item that talks about finding new locations. So I'll also include that if needed.
Okay.
Next one's about NIMS and ICS training. I leave this in here because training is important and because sometimes grants are connected to the amount of training that has been done in town. Now, when I say training that's been done in town, I am not necessarily talking about first responders because we know they're trained. So what I wrote here was I'm going to say completed and deferred because I'm sure that your first responders have training. I wrote NIMS and ICS training has been done by most first responders. Although this is preparedness, not mitigation, the strategy was deferred to this plan to continue providing NIMS and ICS training to new first responders and to town officials as they become elected and or appointed. The point of that is to try to get the select board and anyone else who will respond to an emergency to take these courses so that they have a good idea of how things are operating within the emergency response community. That one okay?
Yes.
Okay, the next one, you were supposed to develop a functional needs list to serve as a tool during an emergency. Do you know if that was ever done?
No.
Okay, this is what I wrote, kind of assuming that. And the other assumption I made, and this may not be right, do you want to develop a functional needs list in the town, or is it too much, too unmanageable for a town of your size to do? Do you see the need for it, I guess is the real question.
Is there a need? Yes. Uh, do we have the resources to do it? No.
Okay, this is what I'm going to write.
You understand what I'm trying to get at?
No.
Okay. So a needs list, like we know that there's disabled people living here that, somebody should check on them, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because they have no family relatives. So somehow a network, if there's quote an incident, that somebody would go and check to make sure they're okay.
Okay, gotcha.
We don't have the personnel, we don't have the strength, we don't have the list, we don't have anything.
Right.
The only thing we may have is Mitch through community policing. That
Right.
he knows people, whatever.
Right. But we
We
don't have a way to
we
manage
in
those.
EMS again, we're cloaked in what we can say about any calls. Basically, we said, yeah, we went to that address. That's about all we can say and acknowledge in public
Yeah.
without a court order.
Right.
It's
Right.
got to go through the HIPAA rights and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
this is what I wrote. I'm going to say it's deleted. That we're not going to do it again.
okay.
And the language is pretty basic, but a list of the functional needs population has not been developed since the last hazard mitigation plan. The strategy was deleted as the team felt with available resources, a functional needs list would be unmanageable by town officials.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
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 Another example I like to give, Sarah, is what if there's someone in town that is 500-600 pounds and the fire department's going and there's a fire at their house? They need special equipment to get that person out of the house. So sometimes that's when it comes in available. But most communities, especially some of the larger ones, don't do this because it's just too unmanageable. It's too hard to keep up to date. There's a few small communities I know that do keep it, but it's not really that common.
Mm-hmm.
The next one was suggesting that you start an emergency webpage to educate the public on both preparedness and mitigation. Now, the town has developed an emergency webpage, but there's nothing on it. I looked at it this morning, except for John's name. So this is what I wrote. The town has developed an emergency management webpage. An emergency webpage is a great way to provide outreach to residents on emergency preparedness and mitigation techniques property owners can use to reduce or eliminate the impact of natural hazards. We're going to defer this one, so it's going to be called complete. It's going to be called completed and deferred. The strategy is deferred to this plan to develop and provide vital information and links on the emergency webpage to educate the public on general and seasonal mitigation techniques, and also to use any social media platforms that are available. It's all about public education.
Mhm.
Uh, One of the reasons we do this particular mitigation action item is because every hazard in the plan needs mitigation according to FEMA. So to meet FEMA's need on that, public education on hazards that don't have mitigation action items does cover it. So it's really to cover our butts with FEMA that we do this one. It's also a very good tool for communities that actively look at their website to see what's on the emergency management page and to get an idea of what they need to do at the time of an emergency, and more importantly for this plan, what they can do to mitigate hazards. Now, the next one I skipped because I didn't know what to do about this one. I know you don't have zoning. You were supposed to educate the residents risks about the risk associated without adherence to the IBC and the IRC codes. You're supposed to use the town's website to provide links to guide builders and homeowners better understand the state codes as a deterrence to the effects of natural hazards. I guess the question is, did you do any of this education to the public, and do you still want to do any public education on building codes?
Probably education, but I don't think there's gonna be enforcement. Uh, we don't have
No building.
somebody that could actually
Right.
enforce compliance, and Grafton is the sort of place every man for himself.
Yeah.
Working with the town of Pittsburgh, you sound like them. So there's
Yeah,
very
building
you
code
have
enforcers.
your own building codes in town.
No.
It's
And
between them and their insurance company is my standard answer.
Right. Yeah, that's what I give too. I
do you
tell them to
have
check
a
with their
building permit?
insurance.
Hmm?
Do you have a building permit, or is it just building
It's
notifications?
building notification. It's not a permit.
I'm going to say see Pittsburgh because it's exactly what they have. Okay, I'm going to write that one up for you.
I would check out Pittsburgh too.
Pittsburgh's
One of your selectmen has a place up there.
No,
He sold it.
no, he's outside of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Georgetown.
but it's up there, but not
Yeah,
right in
okay.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, Stewartstown.
Oh yeah, that Stewartstown. Now there's nothing up there.
There's nothing up there.
Yeah, it's pretty dead up there. Supposed to be doing their plan too, but I can't get them to wake up. The next question is for you, John. I think you can answer this. When you're driving around the town of Grafton, what's the percentage of compliant E911 signage?
Oh, I saw them on a pole somewhere.
Very low.
I'm going to say 35% or so.
Yeah, I would say that most of it's just a mailbox if they have one.
I'll say 35%. And this is what this reads as now.
So, what are we looking for E911 signage?
Well, technically, it's supposed to be about this big. They are usually uniform in size. They're reflective on both sides, and they're usually placed at the end of the driveway, not on the house or a mailbox. That's compliance.
Okay. I think 30% is a bit high, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll put whatever number you want in there.
Let's go 20%.
It's important for first responders, and a lot of towns have recognized it and have actually go out and buy them and put them up for them. If you drive up to the North Country, you'll see those towns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Canaan people will buy them. They sell them, and they actually make the signs at Canaan. You try that in Grafton, you might get shot.
Same with Pittsburgh.
I think at one point from what I'm told, I know I've got stickers around here somewhere. At one point, they did try distributing stickers through this office, but I'm gonna guess it didn't get anywhere.
The auxiliary also did the numbers. They bought 3-inch high letter numbers, and they would custom make it for the people's mailboxes.
Who's
But
doing the fire department?
their auxiliary.
Auxiliary.
It's a private organization that supports the fire department.
They still do that?
Yes.
So if someone wants a sign, they can get it through the auxiliary, but they have to put it up themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really the numbers you put on your mailbox,
So it's
but
numbers.
3-inch high. That's what most people do. But there's a few people that have actually gone and it got real numbers, and there's other people that you'll see an old wooden plank nailed to the tree with a number.
Yeah. And that makes them not compliant because you can't see both sides from both directions.
That is correct. And people that have it obscure, I always tell them that it's difficult for an ambulance call, but a fire call, no problem. Eventually, a fire will show itself.
Right. Might be too late by then, though. Okay. I'm going to write that one up better.
Okay.
Okay. The next was about maintaining private roads. Let's see. You're supposed to provide reminders to residents using multiple sources to maintain private and class 6 roads. Do you know if that was done? I wrote that it had been done. This is what I wrote. Let's see if it works. Town officials have previously encouraged private road maintenance. The strategy is deferred to continue to notify residents of the importance of maintaining their roads and culverts to ensure accessibility by emergency responders and to prevent the failure of private culverts from flooding town roads.
Yes, that's been ongoing. The planning board, anytime you come before it, that's one of their concerns. And if you get a driveway permit, the road agent reminds you of that. So yeah, that's ongoing.
If you do a building notification and you're on a private road, you have to do a limit of liability waiver as well.
Limited liability.
Yeah.
Waiver, yeah.
So that says if you can't get there, then they're in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. We'll do a best effort, but it's like there's no guarantees we can get a fire truck there. I mean, we just had a rescue just 2 weeks ago where we called the neighboring town for an ATV and we had to travel up a half mile of snow-covered road because it wasn't going to get plowed.
Yeah.
It was a private road. So, and that we effected the rescue, but instead of something that we could get to directly, it took an extra hour or so. But that's what they chose, where they chose to live.
Right. You're fortunate that you have the waivers. I know of some towns that don't have them. Actually, I mentioned it the other day to a town, and they thought I had 4 heads. But I think it's a wise thing to have. Okay, the next one is about fire safety, basically, and it's pretty generic, and it does cover wildfires a little bit more than normally. And one reason we do this is because I think I've told you this plan is also going to be approved as a community wildfire protection plan for the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, the state. So it's nice to have these little wildfire things in here. It's pretty generic. It says Grafton has promoted fire safety, but more can be done. The strategy is deferred to have Firewise brochures to educate homeowners on methods to reduce fire risk around their homes. Provide a link to Firewise on the emergency page of the town's website. Provide brochures to residents seeking burn permits, advise residents of the importance of maintaining defensible space, etc., etc. Now, I have one quick question for you about this. Can residents get fire permits online in the town of Grafton?
Yes.
Okay. Was the rest of that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to add that in another place. I'm just going to make this yellow so I don't forget to do it. The next one's about public outreach on flood mitigation. I'm going to say completed and deferred on this one And what I wrote is Grafton is not a member of the NFIP and does not have a flood ordinance. The strategy was deferred to this plan to provide vital information on flood mitigation techniques that can be taken to protect individual homes using the town's website, social media, provide links to NFIP, ready.gov, and other pertinent websites. It's just about getting flood education out.
Okay.
Okay with that one?
Yep.
Next one should be a no-brainer. This is about this plan. This should be completed and deferred. The Grafton Hazard Mitigation Plan of 2018 is being updated to this plan. Strategy is deferred to review this plan, the Grafton Hazard Mitigation Plan, hopefully 2025, annually, and to update the plan again in 2030. Since it's fast-tracked, it most likely will be done in 25. So she says we're so fast too. Now the next one, I didn't know what to put in here. What you were supposed to do is look into potential funding for affected locations such as Prescott Hill, Wild Meadow Road, Riddle Hill Road, and other smaller roads where flooding and wind damage occurred. Wind damage also affected the fire station in the past. Do you know if a letter of intent was ever, it must have been sent, stated there was a letter of intent. Do you know if you ever got HMGP funding to fix those roads?
They're partial.
Okay. Partially completed, and we're going to say and deferred.
Okay.
And we still want to seek funding to do those.
Yes.
Seek funding to complete. I'll try to write this up. Seek funding based on the other information I've already learned to fix these roads. Okay, I'll make that one yellow. The next one's about Genesis. John, are you familiar with Genesis?
Yes.
Okay, some towns still aren't. Genesis, formerly Code Red, is an excellent warning system that stores residents' landline numbers. The town has provided information to residents in the past. The strategy was deferred to provide public outreach to encourage all residents to contact Genesis to add cell numbers, emails, and unlisted numbers and to verify their information. Use the website, popular brochure at town office, social media platforms, or a sign up at town meeting. So this one is deferred.
Yes.
I have never heard of that.
Oh, well, I guess we gotta need to do more on that then.
So is that something that I could post on the
Yes,
hazard?
yeah.
Okay, so I'll
So-
check it out and see what there is.
So, Hanover Dispatch, in coordination with probably Mitch, because he's around all the time, can basically forward that information to Genesis. Okay. Of anybody that wants to be notified, all landlines are automatically in the system.
Yeah.
But anybody with a cell, they don't know that you're in this area. So
Yeah.
you would have to quote register with them so that when there's a broadcast to evacuate an area or whatever, it would come to your cell.
Okay. Yeah, and a
Or
lot of people are
emails.
getting rid of landlines,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that's something. we should
landlines
do.
it's automatic, but cells you have to sign up for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many people are canceling their landlines, so I'm sure I'll have to get information on that.
Okay, the next one is sort of for Jeff, but the assumption here is that Jeff does not have a written stormwater plan.
No, he does not, and neither does the town, nor does the town really, except myself, really understand what that means.
This is what I wrote. Tell me if this will help explain it to whoever reads this plan. Although the Grafton Highway Department does an excellent job cleaning and repairing drainage basins and culverts, a written culvert and stormwater maintenance plan should be developed to ensure continuity of actions and efficient stormwater management. The strategy was deferred for continued maintenance and to develop a written culvert and stormwater plan detailing the size, material, installation date, recommended date for improvement, GPS location, and any other associated problems. I think I sent this to Jeff after the last meeting. We have a sample that he could use. I think I sent it to him. It's in Excel, so if anyone needs to help him, that's what it's in, if you know Excel at all. But this is just so that it's written in here that he will try, and we'll put a time frame on this later, try to get together a written culvert and stormwater plan. Because it certainly is helpful if he's out of town or if he all of a sudden gets up and quits, then you at least have it in writing where the culverts are and when they should be replaced. That sound okay to you, John?
Yes.
Okay, the EOP, this is probably the last one we're going to do because the rest are all culverts, most of them. The Grafton Emergency Operations Plan was last updated in 2009 and is past due for an update based on the state's 5-year recommendation. The new EOP should include an EOC alert list, a detailed resource inventory list, and player packets. The strategy was deferred to update the EOP. So this one is just deferred. Could be completed and deferred, actually.
Yeah. If you know of any grants for that, let me know and we can start that process again.
Well, let me. I'll take the last couple of minutes here to explain what we do for EOPs. We'll do the rest of these next time.
Okay.
EOPs are pain in the butt, to put it bluntly.
Yep.
For a town of your size, your match for the EOP would be like $3,500, $3,000 to $4,000, somewhere in that range, which is nearly impossible for a lot of small towns to make. There is a grant available. It's an EMPG grant. It would give you a 50-50 grant. And again, they start at like $6,000. No, they don't start. They're not. That's the total grant. They're usually $3,500 or $3,000. I think your town would have a $3,500 grant. Because it's 50-50, you would have to come up with $3,500 in match. It also takes forever because the state takes forever to get the grant out, and then it takes forever to make the match. So they take a long time. So that's option one. Do it through the state. There are grants available. Option two is to do it all by yourself and with no grants and no help, and probably will never get done. That's option two. Option three is one that we've come up with that so far it's worked fairly well. I won't say that it's working excellently. It's working pretty well. It's where we provide you with a discount on the state amount. We run the meeting with just a single meeting with the EMD, and then everything else is done by the EMD. He's the one who will schlep off and talk to the fire department. He'll schlep off and go talk to the police department. He'll do the legwork on the program. In the meantime, we write the plan and we guide you through it. The problem with that one is, even though the fee would be something like $3,300 or $3,000 to $3,300, there's no grant reimbursement. So it would have to be approved by the select board to pay the money direct. That's the problem with that one. The plus to that one is no meetings, no grant, no match. And theoretically, it can be done quicker as long as the EMD does their part. And that's why I say it's not quite excellent, because I'm finding my EMDs put it off. They put it off to the side, and the work that they need to do doesn't always get done. But it's the easiest option for a little town like yours. Caveat is the select board has to say, okay, we'll pay the money even though it's not going to be reimbursed. So those are the three options that are available to you for EOPs right now. We do the option three. That's the only option I do now, because the other ones, working with the EMPG department at Homeland Security, has not been pleasant. So what we do is only option three. We've got about 8 towns signed on to it now. We've completed 2 of them. It really works well, as I said, as long as the EMD makes it clear to the select board they're not going to get reimbursed, and the EMD does some of the legwork. So those are the options. I can send you a standard letter on what they are, so you'll see them. And then you can make a decision. Again, in some towns like your small town, the live free or die towns, the really strong ones, don't want the money unless they don't want to pay the money unless they get reimbursed. And that is the only problem with the option 3. Okay, well, we got a lot of work done today. Next time I'll write up the rest of these for table 7. And then next time, if Jeff can come, it would be great, because we're going to talk about what was not done on Wild Meadow Road. We're going to talk about what was done on Prescott Hill Road and David Road. The other couple that we'll talk about don't have to do with him, but those do have to do with Jeff. So invite Jeff. Well, I'll invite Jeff too into the next meeting, and hopefully we'll get this all nailed down. After that, what we do is we look at another big table, which is called the capabilities assessment. We look at what's already in town and we determine if it's working well or if it needs improvements to work better. So we'll do that at the next meeting. I think after that, we'll probably have a short meeting, the next one, because after that, I take the items from both of these two tables and I put them in another table, and I can't do that until we finish them. So we'll probably have a relatively short meeting next time.
Okay.
All right. Any questions for me?
No.
And the next meeting, I believe, is March 10th.
I have
20
March 20th on the
20,
agenda.
yep. March 20th is correct. Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much. It was a great meeting. We got a lot done. Even with just two of you, we got a lot done, a lot of good ideas. So thank you very much. And we'll see you in March. Hopefully by March 20th, we'll have some warm weather.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Take care, you guys. Have a good week.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.